This video is going to take you through how to deal with a grievous bodily harm scenario. So the scenario we're going to work on is this one. Ezra stabs Fran with a knife. Fran lost a lot of blood. Now, for second year law students, your scenario is maybe a little bit more complicated than that, but nonetheless, this is the way that you're going to go about applying. So you're going to start by identifying the offence of grievous bodily harm, and you're going to say that it's under the Offence Against the Person Act 1861. If I were you, I wouldn't mention Section 20, Section 18 at this stage. So first of all, you're going to state the actus reus, remembering that for 18 and 20, the actus reus is the same. So it's unlawful or malicious wounding or inflicting GBH. The case of Smith tells us that GBH means really serious harm. Eisenhower means a wound is a cut to all the layers of the skin. And Burstow mentions psychiatric injury being able to be grievous bodily harm. And then you're going to apply to the scenario by saying, well, in this case, Fran has a wound as there is a loss of a lot of blood. So you need to identify from the actus reus, is it a wound, is it GBH, or is it both? Remembering that larger bones are going to be GBH injuries. So fractured skull, spine, shoulders, collarbones, arms, ribs, pelvis, hips, legs are going to be GBH style broken bones. Smaller bones such as noses, fingers, toes, teeth would be actual bodily harm that we picked up on a previous video. So in this case, we're told it's a wound. Make sure you tell the examiner whether it's a wound, whether it's GBH, or whether it's both, and tell them how you know that. So moving on to the mens rea, this is where we look at Section 20 and Section 18. So you're going to state that the mens rea of the offence for offence option 1, so Section 20, is intention or recklessness to cause some harm. So for Section 20, we're quite often looking at where something gets out of control, it's unplanned, or where maybe your defendant intended to do something, but what actually happens is far worse in the end. And you can use the case of Parmenter, where we must prove that the defendant did see that some physical harm must be caused, albeit not serious harm. We're then going to state the mens rea of option 2, so Section 18, and mention at this stage that the maximum sentence for Section 20 is 5 years, and for Section 18 is life. And the mens rea for Section 18 is intention to cause grievous bodily harm, or intention to resist arrest, and recklessness as to causing some harm. You're going to explain the mens rea of Section 18 with the case of Belfon, where our defendant slashed the victim's face and neck with a razor. If it was to do with a police officer, which it has been in previous exams, you'd use the case of Morrison, where the defendant intended to resist arrest and was reckless as to causing some harm to the police officer that he was handcuffed to when he jumped through a plate glass window and whilst handcuffed to the officer. Obviously, the officer didn't know what was happening, didn't brace for impact, and was quite badly hurt as a result. And you're going to want to mention that the mens rea for Section 18 is specific intent to do GBH. And then you will apply the mens rea to the scenario, thinking about the level of mens rea and whether it's more likely to be Section 20 or Section 18. Now, we're told in that previous scenario that they were stabbed intentionally, and therefore it's going to be Section 18. But your differentiating factors are going to be, was it unexpected? Did it go wrong? Did more harm take place than maybe was expected? And therefore that leads you more towards Section 20. Or actually, did the defendant mean to cause the harm that they eventually went on to cause? And think about the intent behind the action. You'll have to imagine what was happening at the time. So if you are stabbing somebody repeatedly, then you're going to know that that amount of harm is likely to take place. So in this scenario, we can say that our defendant is likely to be liable for Section 18.